If people know that about it.
Most, no, the ones I think that are buying granite products.
Right.
And it's not, it's very sure not copyright.
That would make more
Right.
sense.
Shaw is who you call.
Her problem is, that they want specific songs.
87 of it.
And they have like 50, 60, I mean, they're like the oldie molds, which is great. And then Tai Chi has this ethereal.
Ethereal.
It's like, oh, nobody gets hurt. That's me just kidding. I don't want to think, I just want to no idea what's going on my face. I just show up. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. My grandma made this similar recipe before she died.
Is that what we are?
I have like two things.
I love your tie. I'm wearing that tonight too. Or do you have another whole outfit?
I'm gonna wear a tie tomorrow.
That's what you said. I was just about to ask.
I got on the parade.
You got the best seating in the house.
I'm on the parade. Well, I don't know what we're doing. I just have to try.
I saw the VHS. I tell you what, though, I would
How was your trip? Yeah, we actually drove into Bridgeport at 2:30. That's when it was coming down.
Yeah.
That's not good. Most women.
Licensing nightmare because nothing fits our scenario. And so I call and I say, can you make a plate? So we were just talking, I said, Tai Chi has the ethereal music. The drummers have and the line dancers are the honky tonk, so all country. So how do you ours is art, so sponsors. It is so good to see you here.
We saw your mom. I saw your mom yesterday.
Saw your mom. You're exactly right. You're gonna have to work extra hard. I think she has a $500 a week bingo habit.
I guess I might have the worst habits that we could have. Like first time I got to see you. That's great.
They did. We don't want to say so.
It's bright for this time. It's great. Yeah, that's how you guys came out. I was worried. electric toothbrush, let me know.
Listen, that was the hot.
People love these things.
It was like, the chickens in that. And people were like, there's mosquitoes. I'm like, man, give me a big Just in raffle tickets alone. We did over $800. People, they bought raffle tickets. They bought $65. Way more tickets. $40 worth of tickets. And people would come too. And quite a few. Yeah. I don't know what you remember. I was still waiting for those 50-cent eggs.
We're all like, anything to go down and cost. They'll have to, people are buying it, huh? I know.
And the food cost just, and gasoline, everything. On Monday, I had $7,000. I feel like when we drive it onto the police supply line, they just, the register just goes, ka-ching, $1,000. Those vans, and if it's not the van, it's the lift. Well, you guys take Tuesday, so you know, they come and say, we need tires on each one. Did we just get tires or put those or what? Everywhere.
Oh, I know, they get beat out.
Oh, just downtown. It's like, where's that?
And you say, I tell my grandma, because I'm like, they don't make things like they used to. And I mean it though, because I'm like,
They don't. We had a van in 2012. I retired like 2 years ago. We got a new van. Like the 2017. Like we got it. It came with an 8-month battery. An 8-month battery. And it takes two of them. The transmission went out of it in like 4 months. And it was just like,
and your parents have the same car.
again.
Same Buick.
The camera system, we used to pay for the camera system, $2,000. I was so happy. Now, you better get it. That's good. Just, you know, the speaker things. We drove by it.
All right, call the meeting to order of the Bridgeport City Council, November 10th, 2025. Roll call.
Mayor Robert McKinney,
Present.
Reporter Hank Murray,
Here.
Counselor Don Burton,
Here.
Counselor Jason Campbell,
Here.
Counselor Clayton Rice,
Here.
Counselor Jacqueline Rominger,
Here.
Counselor Chris Kenny.
Here. Thank you. If you'd all stand for invocation by Fire Lieutenant Jacob Thompson, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, if Debbie Kinney would lead us in that after the invocation. Hey, you brought pumpkin bread. Jacob, do I see you there? If you'd step over to the mic, please.
I'm loud.
Okay, we knew that.
Let us all bow. Heavenly Father, we thank you and praise you for this day. We thank you for giving us the ability to stand here and publicly worship you. We thank you, Lord, for each and every day, for your seen and unseen blessings. We ask that you guide our hearts and minds to do your will, Lord, not ours. We thank you and praise you each and every day for the death of your Son. In Jesus' name we pray, and amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, item 5, approval of the minutes of the October 27th, 2025 special city council meeting and the October 27th, 2025 regular city council meeting. Is there any action on that?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 6, public comments. Madam Clerk?
No one signed up.
Okay, nobody has signed up for public comments. Item 7 is report by the mayor. Be very brief because we have a lengthy evening. I just want to thank all of our city staff that's out working this evening. I know that everybody's been busy today with the weather change, and that it includes, I don't want to particularly pick out any department because I've seen them all out this evening. So thank you guys, and just pray that God watches over you as you do your job out in this kind of weather. Also, just a quick report kind of on the same note. Yesterday after church, I was out running some errands, and I came across a car crash out on East Main Street and 76 out there. It had just happened, and unfortunately, a young man was banged up pretty bad in there. And just within minutes, I heard a siren probably coming out of the firehouse there at 52. And I confidently told the young man, I said, help's coming, and you're getting the best of the best. And that made him at ease. Being a long-time first responder for me, it's different to be on the other side now. And so I felt confident, and within minutes, our paramedics rolled up, rescue, and then law enforcement rolled up and immediately turned chaos into calm. And so just kudos to our city staff that do those types of things. One other thing under Mayor's report, I just wanted, Councilman Kinney, it's an issue that he'd asked me about earlier, and I thought we'd go ahead and address it now would be the proper time. As far as the election scheduling to align with the states, I've asked our city clerk, Ms. Rogers, if you would give us a quick rundown on that.
Yeah, so with the Senate Bill 50 update that has to be done by 2032, I will have at the Wednesday strategic planning meeting 2 proposals for you all, essentially laying out, detailing what changes will be made, if any, to terms of current members or future members of council, and how we need to do that to get in line with the irregular election cycle. So those 2 options will be presented to you Wednesday night at strategic planning, and then we can make a decision thereafter.
Okay, are there any questions for the clerk? No. Councilman Kinney, is that good? Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes the mayor's report. Next on the agenda is item 8, report of the interim city manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
A couple things to report tonight. The Bridge Sports Complex, they're having a toy drive with free clip and climb. So if you, looks like on November 24th, and there's a couple other dates it looks like, they'll have a couple sessions. You can bring a toy to donate to local children, and you'll be able to climb for free. They also have several registrations going on for a lot of our club and different programs, for everything from volleyball to a new Mountain State Storm football program they're running for youth. Little Trolls, which is our preschool age program. So there's a lot of things that are going on there. You can check it out on the website. We have, it's been 9 years in a row at the cemetery. We've had some of the Bridgeport youth football teams, cheerleaders, and parents come and volunteer, and they put a flag out on each veteran's grave site for Veterans Day. So they had a little challenging weather for that tonight. The Thompson Drive project is completed, or the paperwork's completed. We Mr. Curry reported that we should have checks coming from FEMA reimbursing us for one check for $677,505 and another one for $40,000 that relating to the flood in 2023, which was administrative costs. Up the fire department substation, we've had a problem for a while now with a leak in the roof, and we worked with Sutter Roofing, and we believe we have that repaired now. I guess we'll find out right now, won't we, with the weather? The restrooms for the Deegan Lake pickleball courts and the inclusive playground were both delivered and set on Friday, so we have some concrete work to do. You know, I think at the very latest by spring, we should have everything ready to go. You know, the weather will dictate what we can get done this fall to finish those two projects out. We also, if you notice when you're on Main Street, we did a veterans banner program this year where you could sponsor a banner for your loved ones, and the proceeds from that will be going to Wreaths Across America, which is our program at the cemetery that is a nationwide program which places a wreath on all of our veterans' graves. Police department, they're continuing to work on their new training facility. They've got the electric getting connected, and about 65% of the interior electric work has been done, and insulation and walls are underway. They will also be doing some holiday food drives benefiting Shepherd's Corner, and I think Officer Jamie is leading up a cat and dog food drive for the Humane Society. So, and that may be around the parade. We're still working out the details on all of those. And while we're on the topic of giving for the holidays, I probably won't be able to go home tonight if I don't mention my last one. And that's the Santas for Seniors program. It's a new program. Kelly Rhodes, who is the coordinator of practical nursing for United Technical Center, is a friend of my wife's, and they have taken this on. This year they will be benefiting Bridgeport Healthcare Center, which is one of our retirement homes here in Bridgeport. And you know, with them working with a lot of these people, there's a lot of people that don't have people that come and visit them during the holidays. They don't get Christmas presents or anything like that. So it's kind of a adopt a senior type of program. I know as of this morning, they already had 18 seniors sponsored, but they have a Facebook page, Santas for Seniors. And then there's also an email that I have listed there that I'll share with the press as well. So if anyone is looking for something to give to this holiday, you could brighten a senior's day. So thank you.
Right, thank you, Manager. Any questions of the manager? All right. Next, before we go to awards and presentation, I want to back up the mayor's report just real quick. Chief Pig, I noticed that we have some visiting firefighters. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to recognize them under mayor's report, do we have some? I see some guys from Clarksburg and maybe some other agencies.
Yeah, there's two guys from Clarksburg Fire Department, and then Captain Wilbur, Captain Keogh, Captain Gallows on the other end.
No, I knew those guys. I just want to know who was visiting us, but no. Okay, well, we appreciate you guys being here, and we appreciate you guys being here as well. Thank you. Okay, item 9, awards and presentation. Is there anybody here to receive the proclamation for Christian Heritage Week? Okay, if not, I'm just going to read that from the bench here. This is a proclamation in harmony with the Christian Heritage Week in West Virginia, November 23rd through 29th, 2025, as proclaimed by Governor Patrick Morrisey. Whereas Thanksgiving week marks the 34th consecutive Christian Heritage Week in West Virginia, thus continuing a tradition of annual proclamations beginning with Governor Gaston Caperton in 1992 through 1996, and continued by Governor Cecil Underwood from 97 to 2000, Governor Bob Wise from 2001 to 2004, Governor Joe Manchin from 2005 to 2010, Governor Earl Ray Tomblin from 2011 through 2016, Governor Jim Justice from 2017 through 2024, and Governor Patrick Morrisey in 2025. And whereas 243 mayors from 143 cities, towns, and villages throughout the state of West Virginia have proclaimed Christian Heritage Week since 2001, and whereas local churches are encouraged to participate with relevant Sunday school lessons, ceremonies, patriotic song services, youth programs, and prayer meetings, and whereas Psalms 127:1 warns, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. Now therefore, I, Robert G. Matheny, Mayor of the City of Bridgeport, do hereby proclaim November 23rd through 29th, 2025, Thanksgiving week, as Christian Heritage Week in the City of Bridgeport, and I invite all citizens to join me in observation, each in their own way." Signed by me this date. Thank you. All right, if it pleases the council, I would like to move item 12.1, the swearing in of Fire Chief Gregory Pigg, up, and go ahead and do that now. Any objections to that? No. Okay, thank you. All right, Chief, if you and your family want to come for your immediate family, not your work family or your life family, we'll get you sworn in and we'll get everybody up for pictures. How about that? Do this one over here. Dawn usually takes care of that for us. You guys want to come over here around it? All right, Chief, if you'd raise your right hand, do you want a copy of this to go by? Or do you just want to follow my lead?
I'll just follow your
Oh, that's scary. Okay. I, Gregory Pigg,
I, Gregory Pigg,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of West Virginia,
and the state of West Virginia,
the laws and ordinances
the laws and ordinances
of the city of Bridgeport,
of the city of Bridgeport,
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
and other directives,
and other directives,
written as well as unwritten,
written as well as unwritten,
of the Bridgeport Fire Department,
of the Bridgeport Fire Department,
and that I will,
and that I will,
well and faithfully,
well and faithfully,
perform the duties
perform the duties
of the office
of the office
of Fire Chief,
of Fire Chief,
to which I
to which I
was appointed
was appointed
according to the law,
according to the law,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll bring everybody up for pictures and whatnot, but Chief, you need to see Lauren because an important part of this promotion is the pay that comes with it. So if you don't sign the paper, he doesn't get the pay. So,
I'll get it.
thank you. So please bring anybody up that you want to get pictures with. Yeah, absolutely. You young guys, Junior and I fought a fire or two together, haven't we? We're a little bit younger. And then Chief, if you want to, please take care of it. If you want to speak or anything, please.
Thank the city for the opportunity to do this job. I really look forward to the future. I think it's definitely bright. You know, the department is going in the right direction, and with all these guys, I think we can do anything.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, guys. Here we go.
Is they smile?
We got a remote mic ordered. Okay. If that one that gets here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. Be safe.
I don't know if Dean told you, he just told me that, and I don't know Carrie Cecil, but she's stuck in traffic on one.
She is, right. We'll go squeeze her in if she gets here, if and when she gets here.
Work around it.
We'll work around it for sure.
She could walk in the door now, and I wouldn't know who she is.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't know her to see her. Okay, and again, if it pleases the council, we're going to hold off on item 10 for a little while. Our guest is stuck in traffic. She's here. She's here? Oh, there we go. Okay, well, good. Well, let's change that. We're going to go with item 10. Are you ready? Okay, Ms. Cecil, if you wouldn't mind going over to the podium there.
See, I told you I wouldn't know if she was taking it.
No, I wouldn't either. Yeah. All right, item 10.1, report by Carrie Cecil, Frost Todd Brown, LLP, updates on cases 124 CV, Genesis Partner versus City of Bridgeport, and G. Andrew Lang. And then we'll go ahead and combine two on that, updates of City of Bridgeport versus Michael Greeny. And yes, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just help us, I think you've probably followed or maybe communicated with somebody up here, a decision that we're trying to make or some areas that we're looking for some clarity in. And we appreciate any input that you could give us.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Carrie Cecil. I'm a public finance partner and have been working on TIF districts in West Virginia for over 15 years. I deal with them every day, so if you have questions, feel free to stop me as I go. Because I get it, it's not a common topic that you all are probably used to dealing with that as often as I do. So I want to be clear about a couple of things. Our engagement actually was not with respect to the litigation. We were representing the city in connection with trying to come up with a solution that was not litigation. So over the last year or so, since the suit was filed by Genesis, I have not been as actively involved. So my plan was to talk about TIF districts generally and answer any questions. As I said, feel free to stop me. Talk about what I looked at during the scope of the engagement. Talk about the Charles Point TIF district specifically a little bit. And, to talk about kind of the actions we tried to take in an effort to take some steps ahead of the litigation. So, TIF in West Virginia is a very statutorily driven process. It takes a while to get one established. There's public input throughout the process. one thing that's important to this discussion is the fact that if a county commission is establishing a TIF district and a portion of the property is within a municipality, it requires municipal consent to include that property in the boundaries. And the basic concept of TIF is that you are leveraging increases in assessed value to help buy down the cost of the infrastructure that's required for a project. So what does that mean? So when we create a TIF district, we have defined boundaries. There is a base assessed value that is established as of the year prior. So you have a set value for the property within the district. Then as development happens and those assessed values go up, you create increment each year. That increment is then structured to pay back bonds that are typically issued. Not all TIF districts have bonds, most of them do. And it's used to reimburse or pay for roads, water, sewer, gas, electricity, other utilities, site prep, those types of expenditures. FBT and working with the city basically, looked at the basics around the district, had discussions with city representatives to help review and advise on the options after the state passed its amendment to the TIF Act that provided that TIF districts could be extended by a county commission without municipal consent to that extension. The city council in 2005 consented to the creation of the Charles Point TIF district at the request of Genesis Partners. That resolution noted that information concerning the proposed development was reviewed and considered by the city council in approving that resolution. In 2008, there were TIF bonds that were issued. They were partially a refunding, but they were intended to subsidize the cost of infrastructure within Charles Point. What is unique about Charles Point compared to all of the other TIF districts in West Virginia is that it was paired with a community enhancement district, which is essentially intended to be a guarantee of the developer. It basically provides that if there's a shortfall between those assessed values and the revenues they create and the debt service on the bonds, that the developer is responsible for that difference. Now, it's not purely the developer, it's based on parcel by parcel if they've not been sold and developed. In this case, it's the developer and related entities that would be the ones primarily paying those payments. So that's been an issue for years. These bonds have been in default for years. There have been discussions, primarily this is the county commission's TIF district, so they drive that piece of it. They've been in consultation and have gone through a forbearance agreement and multiple amendments with the trustee and its council, who are acting at the direction of the bondholders. And they continue to be in default. Like, as of June 1, 2025, there were payments due that were not made. I have had many discussions with Tom Amon as the county commission's counsel and with the trustees council over the couple of years where I was actively involved. Specific actions that we took was in March 2024, I, at the direction of the city, sent a letter to the county commission, copying its council, where we emphasized the city's desire to engage with the county commission because it is the county commission's TIF district, and propose certain documents for our review. In October of 2024, Genesis provided a proposed agreement that proposed fixed payments to the city between $50,000 and $75,000 per year. We'll circle back to this as I kind of lay out some of the things that occurred. The one thing to note was that agreement really didn't take into account how TIF works in West Virginia. It was being proposed directly by Genesis rather than having any role for the county commission in that proposal. So I had further conversations with Tom Amon as counsel of the county commission and trustees council. And in March 2025, the city sent a letter to the county commission, the trustee, and Genesis with proposed terms and a structure for how we would put this in place. Those proposed terms were based on kind of the concept that during that 15-year extension period, not the initial period, because the city had agreed and was on board with the initial TIF district, that 50%, and all of this would have still been subject to city council's approval, by the way. We were very clear as we methodically went through this. You know, we're coming up with proposals, trying to come to a solution. Everything remains subject to council's approval. But it would have been, in concept, basically 50% of what the city would have received during that 15-year period would have come to the city. And we came up with a legal mechanism to do that. Tom Maiman and I had a lot of back and forth on how we could do it. And I think we had come to a solution. But having worked through that, Tom conveyed that Genesis was not interested in moving forward. I'm not aware that it was ever considered by the county commission. And then Genesis filed suit in November of 2024. So that's kind of my brief recitation of the background. I am happy to answer any questions or, you know, TIF generally, what I've been involved in, but happy to do that.
Would it be all right with the council if we just try to keep everything ordered so nobody misses anything, just work up through individually, and then we can come back if somebody thinks of something?
And I probably should put some numbers around what we're talking about. You know, we did some, and working with city staff, did some back of the envelope estimates of what that dollar amount looks like. So 50% we were estimating at that point was a little less than $200,000 a year. Having said that, the conventional wisdom, and I'm sure the way that MuniCap is estimating revenues going forward, is there's approximately a 2% inflation increase over time as you kind of have the rest of the life of the TIF district initially, plus the 15 years. That can add up to a pretty substantial sum, which is why I was involved trying to come up with a solution for this district. So.
Okay. Do you want to start on this? I know we always start to the right. Is that all right? Okay. Or am I right?
Yeah. Thank you for coming, by the way. I know the weather's
Thanks.
awful tonight, so yeah, I guess it is.
Unexpected.
So thank you. I guess my question is, with all of your experience, because obviously a lot of us don't have that, have you had any other TIF districts that have defaulted on payment? And what would be the long-term effect of this on TIFs? Because clearly TIFs are a wonderful thing. Everyone understands the point, the development, the growth. But what would be the long-term effects, and have you seen this before?
There have been other districts in West Virginia that have had defaults that I'm aware of. There are a couple in Morgantown, one of which was because it was, I'd say the districts that struggle the most are most often the ones that are very narrow and focused, and if something goes wrong. So one of the ones in Morgantown was property that came off the tax rolls because it was required by WVU. Now, they came up with a solution and worked out how to do that. I've been involved in another one that was kind of similar, where it was a hospital that was for-profit converted to a nonprofit, and they worked out a solution for those. For a district of this size, and with the additional backup guarantee, this is highly unusual. For the other kind of complex, large developments in West Virginia, they're generating enough revenues and the bonds are being paid. Now, I think what happened in this case is that there have been some lessons learned since this district was done, where there's a more conservative methodology, and frankly, I think if it was happening today, there would have been more kind of looking behind the financial wherewithal of the CED assessments. But there's a reason CED has not been used elsewhere in West Virginia since.
Councilman Kinney?
So with the extension, when that, so in 2035 is when the extension would kick in.
Yes.
Would the assessed property value still be the 2005 value, or would it jump to 2035?
For the extension period, the base assessed value will remain the same.
Still, it stays back, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to answer this question or ask this question, but given that TIFs generally are beneficial, they make money, do you, your estimates, would the 15-year extension continue to provide more revenue than if that property wasn't developed? Or is it more of a detriment to specifically our finances for that extension to be in place?
I think that's a fair question, right? Because the really important part of this is if there's additional development that comes online that's creating revenue, obviously that's good for everyone in the county because there's additional amenities, there's different, the hospital being located there isn't creating revenue, but it's a new hospital location in Harrison County. So there's, obviously a lot of things that have to be balanced. The question is there the financial wherewithal to really bring about that development? Ultimately, that's the county commission and their advisors' responsibility to be asking those questions, but I think it's a fair question to ask. And I will say, obviously, the hospital is moving forward, and it does appear that there is additional retail that's planned. I don't know the current status, because like I said, I've not been as actively engaged in the last year.
So fair question, but hard to really
Yes.
enumerate any kind of numbers on.
That honestly is a question for the developer. They're the ones best positioned to answer that piece, and then have it be evaluated and reviewed by the county commission. UniCap is the revenue study provider. Those folks are the ones that could really dig in and verify or provide comfort with respect to that.
And this may be a question for the developer too, but with an extension, does that theoretically help them come out of default with these bonds? Or does it just extend the process that's already in place?
So my understanding is, and obviously I'm the lawyer, not the financial advisor, or from that perspective, my understanding is the extension doesn't create enough increment to completely pay off the TIF bonds as they're currently structured. I think they have some options for how they may move forward with that, but I don't know what their current discussions are. Obviously, the trustee and the bondholder and their counsel have to be really involved in that because they're in default.
And then what's the actual repercussion to default? It sounds like they've been in default for years, but when does that become an issue? When is there property transfer?
It's really,
what is the repercussion?
Yeah, obviously with the forbearance agreement, I'm aware that they granted additional deeds of trust on property. I think it's a question of the bondholder and the trustee wanting to foreclose and control that property. So they're hoping additional development is happening because they have been trying to do additional things to move it forward. But it's really at their direction and their choice as far as the remedies go.
They being the bondholders.
The bondholder, the trustee acts at the direction of the bondholder, so.
I've got a lot more. I just don't word those questions right now. I may have to come back.
We'll come back. Well, yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Rice.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of the amount that they were of the payment defaults in June of 25? And are those annual payments? An annual payment bond?
I believe they would be structured with semi-annual principal or semi-annual interest and annual principal. That's the way that they usually are. I have their public disclosure that was posted in June. I was gonna see if it so there was almost $3 million of debt service that was due on the 2008 B bond on June 1st of 2025 that was not paid at all. And obviously there's multiple years of non-payment and then the interest that's accrued on top of that. So
Most recently $3 million.
Yeah.
But there's other payments prior to that that are in default.
yes,
So it's multi-millions.
yes.
Okay. The CED assessments, sort of that guarantee by the developer per se, those are also past due
Yes.
to the tune of maybe 15 million.
I know it's a significant number. I don't know.
And
Correct.
those are, how are those enforced? I know there's an issue with how they went from the sheriff's office to the assessor's office to, a lot of finger pointing, but both ways. Ended up with Mark Hunt's office. somehow in Charleston to stop a sale. And I think that has to be decisioned as you head into spring too, I guess, or as we head into May, June.
Yeah.
But if those can't be satisfied either through the recapitalization of the refinance, what happens?
There are a lot of different paths that could, I guess maybe I'll take the first question you're asking,
Yeah.
which is, those are intended to be sold at a tax sale ultimately. They're supposed to work in the same way that a property tax does. Obviously, the procedures related to tax sales have changed, and I know there were some issues with the way they had been allocated. They had done a public disclosure on, it's called EMMA, it's the MSRB's website that disclosures happen on, about the fact that the sale hadn't occurred but was scheduled to. So I know there are some issues there, but I don't know exactly where they are in that process. When it comes to the CED, if they were able to restructure debt service in a way that the revenue coming from the development or development under construction would be sufficient to pay debt service, I'm sure that they would want to structure this without the CED going forward. Obviously, I was not in the middle of any of those conversations because that's more a county commission driven issue. But you ultimately have to kind of look at the revenues that are there currently, what's projected in the future, and make sure that they would be sufficient to pay the debt service. I mean, that's what's going to happen to be able to refinance these. But there's steps in the middle that need to happen to make that possible.
So we had Tim Miller in here maybe a month ago to kind of give the same sort of update that you gave us. And in terms of the suit, questioning the constitutionality of whether or not the city should have the municipality that consented should have a voice in the restructure. He had a feeling that could be decisioned sooner than later, and whether or not it goes to the Supreme Court afterwards, hard to tell. Do you believe that decision is forthcoming anytime soon?
I'm going to defer that one to Dean.
Okay.
We did catch up just because that's outside of what I know about.
Okay.
There's a scheduling order entered in the federal case. That's the case of Genesis versus City. And that scheduling order provides a hard trial date on a bench trial on December 15th of this year. So a couple months away. In the Kanawha County case against Mike Graney in his capacity as director of the development office, there was a scheduling order entered providing for a trial in May of next year, 2026. That is being modified. Judge Lindsay has agreed to put that on an expedited basis, and Tim Miller is working with Mark Adkins, counsel for Mike Graney, to establish a trial date in either December or early January of this year. So those decisions are probably 3 months away. I have a feeling that Judge Clee would make a decision shortly after the bench trial. I can't guarantee that. It's always folly to try to just guess when a judge is going to make a decision. But I think Judge Lindsay in Kanawha County understands the urgency of it, and I think he'll make a prompt decision. Since he has agreed to put it on an expedited basis. That comes through me by way of Tim Lindsay, who I talked to today.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Councilman Burton.
Tim Elmer.
Kind of confused when I was talking to a resident a couple weeks ago. Does a resident who lives in the TIF district in a home pay more in property tax than what a resident outside the TIF district?
They do not.
They do not.
Yes, for a taxpayer that is within a TIF district, whether it's a business or an individual with their home, the process is the same. The assessor assesses it the same. They pay their property taxes, and my understanding is the sheriff's department will have it flagged, and when they receive the payment, they allocate it based on, you know, the portion that would go to the base and the portion that would go to the TIF fund. But no, it does not affect what they are paying for their property taxes.
Thank you.
Councilman Campbell? We'll back.
Thank you for coming. I just kind of want to walk through this so I make sure I completely understand. 2005, 2008, Genesis comes to City Council and creates a TIF district with Harrison County.
They come to the council to ask for a resolution for the city's consent to include property in Bridgeport in the county commission's TIF district.
Okay. So they start building and they start developing, and somewhere along the line, and they get bonds, so it's basically a loan. People loan them money to do their infrastructure and to build.
It's the county issues bonds.
Okay.
And Genesis has to go to the county and say, we spent proceeds on an approved item within the project plan. We properly did competitive bidding for the contract for it. Here's the invoice. Can you take the bond proceeds and pay the invoice? That's a short way. There can be more steps, but
there's real money involved.
Yes, absolutely.
And because of this thing that they kind of organized, which was different, could you explain a little bit more why Genesis did that versus why they did a personal guarantee versus what normal TIFs are?
Yeah, and I'm using guarantee because that's the easiest way to kind of analogize it. But it basically allowed them to bond for more money than they might otherwise have been able to. Usually when a bond is going into the public market, a bondholder or potential bond purchaser wants to know, what are the revenues you're receiving right now? What is projected to come online within a relatively short period? They usually want it to at least be under construction. There can be some alternatives and ways we look at it, but those are usually the two categories that get counted. Things that are built and revenue is being collected, and things that are under vertical construction, not just the infrastructure. In this case, from what I can tell, and I was not practicing in 2005, but it appears that they bonded for a larger amount based on the bondholders looking at the CED assessment and looking at the value of it, that if they don't perform, then they have to make the additional payments because there's not enough revenue being collected. That's kind of where things have fallen apart.
So it's not just the bonds aren't being paid, this guarantee issue's not being paid.
Correct.
So somewhere around 2018 to 2020, the bonds aren't being repaid.
It started in, I think, 2013, because that was the first time that they did a restructuring because there were some issues with debt service. But
okay, yeah. So they're processing. I guess they're thinking to restructure, right? Mm-hmm. Go get more bonds, and I guess they're saying they can't get more bond money because they're in litigation with the city. Is that right?
That I do not know.
The fact that they can't go and raise more funds or get more bond money is because they're in litigation with the city, because of litigation. Is that accurate or not accurate?
I would say that the litigation would impact the refunding issue, but I'll yield to.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't engaged, I believe, until 2023.
Okay.
So that time period, I have to admit, I've not really focused on and what I've reviewed in the past. Really, when I came in 2023, it was because they had proposed extending the life of the district by 15 years, and the city was looking at options and wanting to have discussion about that. The city was saying we want to preserve our options with respect to litigation, but was not actively pursuing it at that point. And then obviously Genesis was the one that filed suit first.
So in all of your experience with TIFs in West Virginia, have you ever seen anything go this far into default?
No.
And are you someone that works for this? Are you like our counsel for the city, or?
I am the city's counsel, but
okay.
I serve in various roles. I have some developers that I represent in connections with TIF districts. I have county commissions. I work with other cities. I've kind of been on every side, and I understand everybody's kind of position on different issues.
I know you can't predict the future, but I like what Council Kenny asked was, if this goes into default, does this harm the city or does this harm the county? Or does it harm both?
I mean, obviously it's been in default for a long time with respect to these particular bonds. It's the best thing that can happen is the developer performing and bringing in additional development. But it's obviously been a number of years, and that has been a very slow process. They are the county commission's bonds. The county commission does not have a general obligation on those, though. Like, the bonds are payable solely from the revenues that come in, and those revenues are, you know, the collections into the TIF fund and the CED assessments. The one positive here is that there is, I believe, just one bondholder, which means you have someone to negotiate with. A lot of times these deals may have 20 bondholders. Some of them are, you know, even have public holders. So those are harder to negotiate because there are a lot of parties you got to get moving in the same direction. But
do you know why the county's not so upset about this?
I honestly don't know. And we've not had a direct discussion with them. I obviously have had many discussions with Tom Maiman as their counsel, but they did not seem to engage on the proposal that the city sent. And that's the piece for me that I haven't really understood, because it seems to me that the county commission and the city working together would be the best thing to try and move this forward.
So when people ask the question, why is everyone picking on Charles Point? The answer to that question could be because there's more land underneath the problem than what it is. It's the defaults.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Recorder Murray.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you being here. I've been involved with this since 2005, and I find it extremely confusing. And I am not a finance guy by any stretch, okay? But my first question I want to ask you is, with all of the bonds that are in default prior to when you came on, and what happens to them from this point on? Do they get out of paying them?
So obviously the county moved forward with extending the life of the TIF district. So that's probably one thing we haven't talked about. Essentially what's happening is whatever revenue they have coming in is being used to pay toward the outstanding amounts owed on the bonds. The A bonds have been paying down, but they were, you know, issued in a much smaller principal amount. It was under $5 million. The B bonds are continuing to accrue interest. You know, as things sit right now, basically it would be whatever revenues are collected, whatever CED assessments are paid. If those properties, you know, if they end up selling at a sheriff's, well, I guess the state tax sale now, or if the bondholder directs the trustee to exercise remedies, like there's kind of a wealth of things happening, but right now what's been happening is basically whatever comes in, they're using to pay whatever debt service they can pay.
So you're saying the debt service is still going to be there ad infinitum?
Until the termination date of the district.
Okay.
As extended as it sits right now.
What do you know what the position of the bond council is at this point in time? What does the bond company want to do?
The bondholder?
Yes.
I don't know. You know, I've had obviously many conversations with trustees council. In fact, he was supportive of the idea that the city had proposed. He generally thought it seemed like a good thing that was worth having conversations about. But as far as exercising remedies, I do not know what their current.
But they turned that down. Is that correct?
Not the trustee.
No, I mean Charles Point turned that. Genesis turned that down,
did,
which
yes.
makes no sense to me because. But anyway, and if you extend the bond, is that not just kicking the can down the road? You're not gaining any. If you can't pay the debt before, how are you going to pay it afterward? Is what I'm asking you.
I think that's a fair question. There's obviously, I don't know what their current thought process is, and with the litigation, my guess is a lot of those conversations aren't really progressing right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
very good so far, and I've certainly learned a lot, and I appreciate it. It's been very informative. I just have a few questions on
Sure.
that, and I hope they're good questions, but I'll try to form them the best I can. I think we all agree that TIFs are a good thing, and I think a 30-year TIF is a good thing. Could you tell me what is the downside of a 45-year TIF?
Sure. This is my personal opinion. I think 45 years a lot of times may be too long. And that's because a lot of times the useful life of the businesses that are being constructed on those sites may be less than 45 years. And I will say, from a kind of initial starting point of a district, it's unconstitutional in West Virginia to have bonds that have a life that's more than 30 years. So and a lot of this is underpinned by the federal tax rules that we public finance lawyers work under. And there are sometimes bond deals that go past 30 years, but those are usually things that are basically water and sewer deals where it's a very long live asset that supports doing a long-term financing. Almost everything else in our market is 30 years and under.
Mon County, for an example, are you familiar with, I think they did an extension in Mon County.
I am. Just to disclose, as part of that extension, I was representing Westridge as its developers council at that time.
And your company issued an opinion in that.
Yes.
And your opinion's kind of different than what we're saying here in Bridgeport.
So legal opinions are very focused on kind of the specific matters that they go to. I don't know that, and they are applicable to the people they're issued to at that point in time. So I don't know that our opinion would have been any different with respect to the legal matters it covers versus what would have been done at the time. It's more the financial analysis that I think distinguishes those two districts.
Mm-hmm. So if your company opined that with respect to legal conclusions contained herein, and with the opinion has been rendered, such legal conclusions are based solely upon the current laws of West Virginia and federal laws, and do not involve laws of any other jurisdiction or state, and you opined that it was proper to issue the bonds, because in this particular case you were representing the developer?
I wouldn't have given an opinion with respect to the bonds when I'm representing a developer. Bond counsel gives the opinion with respect to the bonds.
Okay, so this opinion and I know it's unfair because you're not looking at what I'm looking at, but let me see if I could help you on that.
You're reading kind of what's at the end of the opinion, not
the
actually
opinion.
the opinions that are given.
Yeah, it was based in a letter on Frost Brown Todd letterhead, July 28, 23.
Sure, but
that's
there
in the
should be
Westridge.
numbered paragraphs. Those are the actual opinions.
Okay. So that at the end of the day, that particular case in Mon County, those bonds were extended.
Yes.
And your company represented the
developer. And the towns that were involved were there for the public sessions and had dialogue with the county commission with respect to the extension.
Yeah, so with everybody at the table, it was decided that, hey, this is a good thing to go ahead and continue extend the 15 years up in Mon County.
Yes.
Okay. Another question I have, and I'm looking at the letter that you wrote on behalf of the city of Bridgeport to the county commission.
Sure.
And did they ever get back with you on that, or did they just completely ignore us?
I never received a formal response. I did have conversations with Tom Naiman as their counsel, and the response was essentially that they had given it to Genesis and that Genesis did not want to move forward, was my understanding from Tom.
Okay, this was dated March 25th, and it's us, through you, asking the county commission if we could pretty much, I guess in layman's term, have a seat at the table.
That was the first letter, right?
That was the first letter.
Yes, they did provide the documents that were requested, and we had a dialogue with the county commission following the first letter.
And we requested their documents related to the TIF district, correspondence regarding the extension, and that the county commission had in their possession. Did we ask for that from any other TIF district in the city of Bridgeport that was asking for an extension?
I was only engaged with respect to this matter.
To Genesis Partners?
Correct.
Not White Oaks or
I was
the
not
airport,
engaged
maybe?
with respect to any other districts.
Okay. Okay, that's basically all I have, but thank you very much for your information. Then let's do follow-up, Jim.
So in your assessment, if the city were to win the case, the state case, what would the implications of that be?
I think it would depend on what basis it would be decided, and I can't say at this point because I've not been actively engaged on that matter, and I'm not a constitutional law expert, and I understand that there's other claims within that litigation.
Because you said something about, constitutionally can't.
Yeah,
But 30
that's the 30 years is separate from the constitutional argument, as I understand it in the case.
As I think Tim explained the last time around, was a question of whether or not in 2005 there was a contract created between the developer and the city of Bridgeport. And as a matter of fact, there was a written memorandum of understanding signed by both the city of Joe Timms and Jamie Corton on behalf of Genesis, that said that we would give them the formal consent required, and it set forth certain other things that they would do. They would provide for annexation of some of the property that was not in the city, and if there were any major changes in the development plan, it would require the city's consent. So there's a written contract there, and we have a constitutional prohibition against the legislature adopting anything that violates a private contract. The city is given the power to contract and be contracted with. And part of the constitutional question is not the 30-year limitation that's in this Constitution, but is that the legislation passed, which did not give the city any say, so to speak, in the process, violated the contracts clause of the Constitution. Those agreements were unique to Charles Point and Genesis Partners. We didn't have the same contracts with other developers. The only other one is White Oaks. And that was probably because Joe Timms prepared various and sundry white papers in which he questioned both why 30 years, why not 15, why not 20 years, those things that he, I don't know whether we're ever get evidence or not, but I have copies of all those white, Joe called them white papers, that he prepared, which he very meticulously considered every possible scenario and required a feasibility study done by the NECAP and presented to the city there. And he had questions from the very beginning. So it's a different theory than would apply anyplace else.
So then, if I understand what you're saying there, and I know it could be based on the scope of the findings from the court, but if the city were to win this court case, it wouldn't necessarily invalidate the new law, right? So
Not necessarily.
So we've heard that other municipalities, other entities are, chomping at the bit, so to speak, because this is holding them up. But if our case is very unique in this regard, we're really not holding anybody else up then.
I don't think so. Carrie, you know about all the other parties. And the question that's constantly come up is what's at stake? I mean, what's at stake? And I'd asked Carrie to do some calculations based upon what tax revenue the city was foregoing during the 15-year extension, using numbers that exist today, assuming no further development out there whatsoever, which I don't believe, I believe there
I
will be.
hope that's not the case, right?
Yeah. And, I think I'll let you take it over from there.
Yeah, so basically in 2024, we had worked with city staff to kind of come up with what do we think the city's share is, using kind of where current mill rates were. So I just, as a back of an envelope, took that, applied a 2% inflation factor, and then had it total up that last 15 years. It was $9.7 million. And I understand that's a rough calculation. Now, with the offer we had given,
What does 9.7 mean? That's $9.7 we're going to get out of the extension. We're losing out of the extension. I'm confused by what you're saying.
as things sit right now, that would be $9.7 million that would be flowing to the TIF district.
And not coming to us.
That would not come to the city.
But
Now,
did
So
you
a
look at
loss
what
for
we?
us.
That part's a loss to us. But then, what did you do? A calculation on what gains we're getting from the development that's there and the.
that is where we get past the scope of the lawyer. I did a very simple calculation, and I will say, the proposal we had put with the county commission obviously would have been subject to city council approval, would have been half that number, right? And that's over a 15-year period, so. But rough legal calculation, not financial person calculation.
See, that's the frustration I
Yeah.
have, is I keep feeling like I get just one half of the story, and the one half is, it's easy to calculate how much we're quote unquote not getting, but the whole purpose of the TIF is that what we're not getting is going to be more than made up for in what we do get. And so we estimate what we're not getting, but why don't we have an estimation for what we would get?
Well, then there's kind of two pieces to that, right? Like there is, the estimates that were done at the beginning were based on a 30-year life of the district. And usually the desire is once you get close to the end, there's additional revenue coming in. So you pay the bonds off early, and then the revenue returns to the city from that regular levy portion. If you're looking at holistically, you all do get, if you have an excess levy, you would get those amounts from the increases. Obviously, the municipal sales tax, although you're limited in what you can use that for. If you have fire fees, your water system and sewer system can benefit. So there are other benefits. It's just a lot of those have restrictions on what you can use the funds for. But I don't have, fulsome numbers for that. That would be a financial advisor that would need to do that piece.
So you talked some other entities that have dealt with default, but not to this extent. What kind of remedies were put in place? Is there something is there a cooperation that could be had under the current circumstances that we could work towards remedy here beyond the lawsuit?
I mean, resolution of the lawsuits, I think, are probably the thing. Now, obviously, with the way things are moving, those are headed toward the end of the first step, right? You never know what happens after that because it's litigation and sometimes it goes on forever. Said as a non-litigator. So resolution of the litigation, I feel like, is a big, important piece of this. It's also the parties talking to each other, frankly, and trying to be solution-minded, because I feel like a lot of that hasn't happened.
Yeah, this is the struggle I've had. And I met with a citizen about this who wrote to us and told us how much he hated this law, and I didn't necessarily agree with all of them. Before this meeting, if you would have asked me, there's a part of me that didn't want to win this case, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. But that's why I'm glad we're having these conversations, because every time I hear something more, it puts it in a little bit different perspective. So I went from pretty sure I didn't want to win this case, because if I was given the choice between extending the TIF and there being no TIF up there at all, given the potential for development, I think I'd rather have the TIF extension. But with additional details here, now I'm back in back in that limbo state to not really know. So it's
answer this, Gary. I've worked with bond counsel on a lot of bond issues. I find them to be very conservative and very cover their backside kind of,
Yes,
every contingency.
Yeah.
And I can understand that because there's a lot of money involved. Genesis sued the city in federal court, asking for a declaratory judgment. I always suspected that there was enough of a question there that bond counsel, I know bond counsel frequently will say, you get a declaratory judgment from a court that tells me that this is constitutional, and I'll give you a clean bond opinion. Do you think that the reason for that, for the Genesis suing us, was to get a clean bond opinion, if there was some question about the constitutionality?
Possibly. I don't know for sure why they chose that path. But I definitely think, you know, my assumption is that the litigation has been an impediment to being able to restructure and move things forward.
Well, see, the city, and Tim Miller said he had been told to stand down, that the city was going to do nothing until we were sued in federal court by Genesis, and we have to do something to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And as part of that, Tim felt, and I agree with him, that most of this is state law. There's very little federal question there, possibility, but most of it is based upon state law, so that it should be done in state court. And so he brought the action in Kanawha County because of the development office being located there. I guess my question comes down to, if these lawsuits are dismissed, would there still be a question there for bond counsel with respect to what the outcome might have been?
I can't predict what the step-toe opinion committee as bond counsel for the county commission would conclude. My guess is that, you know, if the litigation is fully resolved, that hopefully would allow them to move forward. But litigation always has the chance of appeal too, so you're at the first step from my perspective, but again, I am not a litigator.
Well, I guess, is a declaratory judgment necessary to get a clean bond opinion to restructure the bonds? That's my question.
I think it's more that the litigation that's currently proceeding would need to be resolved. Like final resolution, right? Like non-appealable parties are concluded.
And it would have to be resolved with some sort of declaration by the court, would it not?
Yeah.
Not just a voluntary dismissal.
Unless the parties are in agreement, right?
Yeah, right.
So I've got a slightly different question, different angle. So let's just say it all goes bad. The developer does not make it, and the bondholder has to foreclose on the bonds. Correct?
I think it would be the property. I believe
the property.
Yeah.
Correct. So I think in banking terms, it's almost the same as bond terms in a lot of ways. The bondholder would sell the property, likely to another developer that probably would come in, likely with wherewithal, to finish what is finish what needs finished. So development still happens in Bridgeport. It still occurs, and they're not going to buy it just to sit on it and keep it empty fields. They're going to buy it to develop it and have commerce. Does the TIF district get extinguished if that bond issue gets foreclosed on, or would it go to the next developer?
So, you know, the bonds as they are constituted, you know, they're until they're repaid or the district terminates, they don't.
Okay.
They're not extinguished. You know, I think at that point it would be, you know, restructuring and trying to come up with a new way to, you know, they obviously have 2 districts that they can look at to incentivize the development. There's obviously a lot of infrastructure that's been done. So, you know, it's hard to say exactly how that would happen, but the bonds would still need to be restructured under that scenario.
Even if the developer buys them at a discount or, right?
Yeah.
Party number 2 comes in and it's like the third owner of a golf course, right?
But-
They start making money.
Yeah, these bondholders are large institutional buyers.
Right.
They do not want to be the ones doing this development, so they would, you know, I think the scenario you were laying out is, but they also have to be willing to do that foreclosure and want to move forward with that part, so.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You know, this is where my naivete comes into play, because I don't know how to play these games. And I've had numerous people tell me that the one thing that we're missing here, and I'm just throwing this out there because maybe somebody knows it factual instead of this innuendo, that there are nefarious things going on behind the scenes, directly to what you're just now talking about, that there are people out there who want Charles Point to fail for that very reason, so that they can come in, swoop in, and buy that at a discount and become the developer. If that is the case, what I don't understand is which way would benefit them more? If somebody was doing that, is it beneficial to them to extend this TIF district and just let Genesis get into even more problems and the default go farther and farther, or is it beneficial to a party who would try to do that to get the extension nixed so that the 30 years comes up sooner, the default happens sooner, and then they can swoop in? Which scenario would be better for somebody trying to play that kind of game?
I can't speak to any types of games being played or other parties involved. What I can speak to is from a bondholder perspective, what they typically want to do. So that they're trying to recapture as much as what they've outlaid on these bonds as they possibly can. You know, they've chosen so far to not pursue foreclosure. And to be clear, like the forbearance agreement that Genesis entered into is where they granted the deeds of trust on the property. So, you know, they've given that additional collateral to the bondholder. So it's ultimately the bondholder would be the party driving that, and they're doing it in a way to try and recapture as much value as possible. I think at this point, because they haven't done that, they see that there's still a path, that if there's an extension and, you know, if there's more development coming online, that they can still potentially recapture some of their investment, right? Like they're still weighing that. It would be my assumption, because they haven't taken any of those actions.
So you're surmising that from the bondholder perspective, the extension is beneficial.
Yes.
So
But-
based off of that, it would tell me that anybody that's trying to, I'm not saying they're working with the bondholder, they're just behind the scenes. You know, I picture the evil laugh and the wringing of the hands. They would like to see the extension go away then. And
I mean, at that point,
'Cause-
they can't take advantage of the district if they were to come in, because you've got all of the increase in value that's happened. You'd have to pay off as much of the bonds as possible, or, you know, let the district terminate. So you've got a number of years, you know, you've got another decade to sit and wait and see where the values are. And that would be the base assessed value to leverage it at some point 10 years from now. I think that scenario is probably not the most beneficial.
well, and, you know, hopefully that's just people talking, and it's
There's
not-
a
it's
lot
not-
of that
yeah, I mean,
happens.
I've certainly figured that out.
Yeah.
Because I don't usually listen to talk, didn't have to before. Now I kind of do.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that's just people running their mouth, and there's not that kind of crap going on. But I do want to go back to one other thing you mentioned before. You said you didn't think there was enough talking going on amongst parties. Can those talks happen now with litigation going on? Is that legally feasible?
It's where litigation counsel comes in.
I will say that as a part of the litigation, there is required mediation where the parties have to sit down. The unique thing about this is that Mike Granian's party in the Kanawha County case, we are the parties with Genesis. So there is required mediation, and I think it's on December 1st, where the parties have to sit down and try to mediate and try to reach resolutions. That's required by the court.
Is that mediation, is that done amongst the lawyers?
We-
Because the reason why I ask is, at some point in time, you know, my jaded view is that just makes things more complicated. Can't we just sit down as a body with them and a much friendlier, get the lawyers out of the way and come to some agreement as to what's mutually beneficial to everybody? I mean, I would love to do that. I get why when I asked them to talk the other week, they couldn't because everything's going on. But man, I'd love to.
I think with the consent of both parties, that could happen.
Well, Mayor, I don't know if you can reach out and maybe initiate something to where we can sit down and have that conversation. Because I've talked to Jamie a couple times, and
I think I reported to council that I did have a meeting with Jim Christie. He presented a proposal, which I think came to you all. You sent it out to all the councilmen?
Yeah, they all received it, yeah.
But here's the struggle I have is, like I said, I've talked to Jamie a couple times. Last time was after the meeting when he was here real quick. And, you know, I've told him where I disagree with him and don't like how things are going on. But this process of where I hear his side of the story, then I come in here and I hear your part of it. And another meeting I hear a different lawyer's part of it. This is ridiculous. I keep getting these disparate bits and pieces of information that I can't immediately get the counterpoint to it. You know, if I'm going to be a part of a decision-making process, I don't want something that takes 5 months to talk to 5 different people on. Why can't we get all parties to the table and sit down and have a reasonable conversation instead of what seemed like arguments between us and the county before? Instead of discussions, it was just talking at each other or talking through others. Can we not just sit down and have a reasonable, serious conversation and come to the bottom of this?
At a mediation, you have to have a decision maker there. The only decision maker here is the entire governing body, which is the 7 of you all.
So are we going to that? Because that's the first I've heard there was a meeting.
Well, I think that what we need to do is advise the court that our charter provides that the city manager negotiates contracts. Those contracts then have to be approved by the governing body. So I think what we plan to do is to take Joe and see what goes back and forth and bring back any kind of an agreement that we can reach to council, for council to approve, because that's what your charter requires.
The difficult thing is the Open Governmental Proceedings Act. And, you know, if you have all 3 county commissioners come in, then you've got both of you having an open meeting, and there's certain things you have to abide by to do that. So it is difficult, I will say that.
Well, of course it is. It's government. We make everything difficult. But gee whiz, we got to figure out a way through it, I think, to get to the right solution.
You got to give 48 hours notice, got to put it on the agenda.
Well, you could always do an executive session if you could bring everybody here, you know, to this, because I think that, you know, I think that we all have a little bit of a different opinion on how this should fall out. And I, for one, would want to be part of those negotiations.
Sure.
I think the city manager negotiates it and gets approval of council, but I would like to see, you know, Dean, for you to try to arrange to do that in an executive session so we all could have input in it and be able to ask any questions or comments that we have.
It's just frustrating to be expected to vote on something like this.
What we could work out, yeah.
It's frustrating to be expected to vote on something like this and not be a party of these complex conversations and only get bits and pieces of it at a time. And I think I'm a fairly intelligent man, but to take all these bits and pieces together, it's stretching the capabilities of my synapses. How about that term?
It's certainly difficult.
I'm not. and I have trouble with it. I'm not a very intelligent man.
Kerry, I wanted to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Then I don't have any more. I know it's getting bad, and I know that you have to go up the highway. And you know, it's obvious as long as we have this state suit in that the bondholder's not going to reissue the bond. We all know that. Absent that, I think that opens the door for negotiations. I think that that talks between the developer and the city has improved for whatever the personal hangups were prior to. As being our counsel hired on this, you know, we're paying a lot of money to pursue this state case. We're just slightly under $200,000, the taxpayers' dollars right now in this. We have a federal case that we are defendant. It is it's not for any damages. You know, so we have to defend it at some level. My position has been, you know, let's drop the state to see what the federal does and then go forward from there. I guess from what Dean told us, we have a hearing on the 15th of next month on the federal case.
On the federal case, and we will have either in December, mid to late December, or the first part of January.
The mediation for the...
No, a hearing on the Kanawha County case.
On the Kanawha County. I thought that was May. I'm sorry, I must have wrote it down wrong. I thought
No,
that was in May of 26.
The existing order is, but the judge has agreed to put it on an expedited basis.
Nice.
And Tim Miller is working with Mark Atkins, who's the Graney's counsel, to come up with a date in December or January, and the judges, I think, is agreeable to that.
So this thing may outrun us. I mean, it's if we can get these things resolved, you know, through the courts that quick, which I doubt, because then there'll be appeals or whatever. But my question is, you know, if we can do away with the state case, we can wait on the federal case. Is it your opinion that negotiations is a good path forward in our situation here? We know that Genesis, that they have a lot of problems up there with as far as, you know, bills, but as you said, it's the county commission's bonds. We really don't have it, and just probably I would say 90% of what we've talked about tonight is really out of our sandbox. The extension is because we want it to be part of that decision. You know, if that was going to be allowed. And then in our letter through you to the county commission, we addressed that. And we even said that, you know, negotiation, I won't give it verbatim because I don't know where I've lost my shuffled my paperwork here. But, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, you know, our best path forward is negotiating this and working with the developer and the bond counsel and having a good thing, which is the TIF. So I guess I'm asking you as our attorney, do you think it's a bad, not the only, I'm not asking if it's the only, but is it a bad path forward to get out of the state case, wait on the federal case to be resolved, and try to negotiate with the developer?
That's where you get me past my skis.
Okay, I was afraid of that. Okay, I'll give you an easy one on the way out. What is the difference between an MOU or a memorandum of understanding and a contract? They're not the same, are they?
It depends on the specific terms of it. You can have an MOU that is a contract. You know, and I have not reviewed it, so I don't have a thought on that.
Okay, that's all I have. Anybody else?
Last question. Dean, do you consider our memorandum of understanding to be a contract?
It has all the earmarks of a contract. It has a term. It has, you do this and I'll do that. In the preliminaries, it was entered into because Vince Collins said, I have to have a clean resolution that can't put anything else in it, so we did the memorandum of understanding.
Dean, is there anything in that MOU that they didn't fulfill? I know that they fulfilled the annexation of all the property into the city, the development. Is there anything in that MOU that you know of that stands out to you that they're not upholding or that they're not holding up to their agreement?
Well, the only thing would be a major change in the development plan by extending it.
Not the actual development, but the extension of the funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
One last question.
Okay.
So your firm represented the Morgantown builder that was applying for an extension of a TIF. Were they in default at that time?
They were not.
And basically you got everyone together with the county and they all sat around and agreed it?
The county really was the one that led that discussion. The developer they have regular work sessions where there's information exchanged. I'd say the parties stay more closely in communication. And so it was really led by the county commission, proposed by the developer.
Got it.
Did we work you over enough?
I'm used to TIF being one of those things where there are lots of questions, so I never mind.
Well, in my opinion, you have done very well. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you, and have a safe trip home.
Thank you. I'm hoping it stops snowing. Oh, no.
And you're welcome to stick around if you want to wait it out.
There was no snow in Mon County.
All right, and again, thank you, council, recorder, everybody, for a good conversation. I'm glad when we can talk about things and do it orderly and in a good orderly fashion. All right, so that will move us to item 11, unfinished business. There is none. New business, we've handled 12.1, and we will go to 12.2, consideration and act on a change order number 1 to an existing contract with Field Turf for the design and construction documents for supporting building at the new multipurpose field at the Bridgeport complex. Mr. Callahan, I think you're probably here, manager, Mr. Callahan, here to speak on that.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
You're moving slow.
It's usually rockstar, man. I hope I don't have to go through that.
Oh, that we were just getting warmed up to it.
That was brutal. Am I not loud enough?
Well, it's for people at home to,
I actually need to point, Lauren's doing something for me, she's working back.
people at home might be able to hear you then, and that's.
Hold the mic.
Oh, God, this is awesome. Okay, so, obviously we engaged with a contract with Field Turf. See, that's what you guys get. For the 7 million plus field complex we're working on right now. It's abundantly obvious that we are going to need a support building in this area, right? And it's always been the plan. But funding, I don't know why I say funding hasn't been available, but talking with Joe and Sharon, we're getting closer and closer. Right? We're about 1.5 in, meaning in excess to start that building. So what Joe and I talked to Field Turf about was they have an internal company called Ampere that Field Turf owns, Target Sports, which is Field Turf owns, that we would like to enter a contract with to the tune of $250,000 to design the building. The reason is, and we're having to put is putting sewer lines in, and Mountain State Electric is putting electric in. And until we know the footprint of the building, we don't know where to end this. And our biggest problem is we don't want to work with an exterior designer and then patch them together, because then they point the fingers at each other, right? So with Field Turf being the contractor of both sites, meaning this site of a new building and what they're doing right now, it's on them, it's not on us. So I believe in your packet you have 1, kind of the change order, and then 2, the scope of work. The good thing, it's done under a co-op, so there are restrictions in terms of, it's a school building authority of West Virginia in terms of how much they can charge. It's just a standardized cost across the board, whether it was here or in Charleston or in Parkersburg. So it's a 7% fee, but that's a $3 million building. There's no way. What Joe and I talked about was Mountain State Brewery. You know, it's a prefab metal building, dressed up a little bit. So we're hoping that number comes way down. But what we're struggling with the complex is when the bridge was built, it was built for the bridge. It wasn't built for anything else. And now what we're struggling with is when Chris buys a Coca-Cola, or I shouldn't say that, Pepsi from us, the next Pepsi has to be cold, right? And so we don't have a walk-in refrigerator or walk-in freezer. And so what we're trying to do is design some of those elements into this building so it spider webs out to the rest of the complex. But when the bridge was originally built, it was just built for, it didn't even take into account the rec complex, right? So now we're trying to clean up kind of some of those messes to make sure the infrastructure fits the whole facility, not just the bridge, if that makes sense. Joe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, a few things. So, as Drew mentioned, we can do this project with a design team through our co-op as an add-on to the contract that we have. The thing that's nice, and those of you who are around when we built the CityNet Center, our design team, we brought in some professionals that only do facilities. Well, this Amphere group, and Drew and I have vetted them. We've talked to them. We've seen a lot of projects they've done. That's all they do. They don't design banks. They don't design police stations. They don't design anything. They design sports and recreation facilities. So, our other option is to, put it out to, a bid like we would normally do, the 5G process, where we'd put it out, which would add a great deal of time to this. And as Drew mentioned, through that bid process, through that co-op process, it does follow the same funding mechanism or billing mechanism that the state requires. And he mentioned was the school building authority, school building authority. So it has the same fixed cost. What we did in the proposal for the $250,000 is we based it on a $3 million building. So again, worst case scenario, we don't anticipate it being that high, but we don't want to come back later if we do this. So through this process, what we're going to end up with is we're going to go through a feasibility. So we work through those problems with these professionals that deal with this all the time to come up with those solutions that we need for the things we're struggling with up there, but also to provide the basics that we need for this area of the complex, including restrooms and concession stands and the things we would need around those facilities that we're not going to have right away. So that will be a sliding fee. So I do anticipate it being lower than this because I don't think we're going to design a $3 million building right there. And that being said, we do have some immediate needs, as Drew mentioned. I got a text Friday from the electrician wanting to know where he's supposed to put the electric pad things, and I can't answer that question yet because we just don't know. So this will incorporate that in there, move it a lot faster. It kind of avoids having to go through that whole process that, if we did, go through the public, it's probably going to be a higher number than 7% that's controlled.
So if they're already asking that question, how quickly can this get done? We approve this today. How quickly can this get done to answer those questions?
I can't answer that right away, but it's going to be way faster than waiting a month and a half or so to go through a 5G process. So this would immediately, they understand the time crunch that we have. And I think what we're struggling with is we don't want to put things in place that we have to move or tear up later.
I guess the other side of that is, are we going to have to delay some of the progress that we're already making to get through this process then?
I don't think so. I think we can get at least the footprint done pretty quickly. Once they know what we need and what we want, they'll be able to provide that pretty quickly. Some of the sewer, I'm not real concerned about. The electricity, and the internet and all the other stuff that comes with that is what I'm really concerned about. I don't think the sewer is that big of a deal. I think we can make that run whether we have to pump or, if we can gravity feed, it's a lot cheaper. And so that would be nice to know those elevations. But
so to try to answer your question is, Public Works and their crew, their sewer over, like it's down here, and they're going to branch, per Joe and I's discussion with Tiny, they're going to branch across two sides because there may be a field over here eventually. So we're just trying to plan ahead. Electric is sliding here, and right now it's stubbed right here. But we want to hide it behind whatever building it is because we don't want it in the middle of a parking lot. So that's where we start running into these problems. Where does sewer end going to that building? Where does electric get hidden? So then we're like, oh, we're jammered right now. We got to have the footprint. We don't have to have the whole building design. We have to have the footprint of the building to understand where some of these things end. So that's.
But with the project, we will have a complete set of construction plans that are available, ready to go out through, any of the bid processes that we look at. So it is a feasibility through design, through construction plan contract. So we will have, at the end of the day, they're going to work with our staff to design that and expedite that footprint, so we know where we can put some utilities. But it will be a finished product ready for construction bidding at the end of the day. So.
And reading in this thing that Genesis Partner has to approve this thing?
They have to approve, they have ARB control over
What's
our
ARB?
facilities. Architectural Review Board. So if we design, we do anticipate it being more of the construction like you see toward the back of the CityNet Center. That's the one we've talked about a lot is Mountain State Brewing, where you have a metal building with a fancy facade on it, but they do have a right to control what the building looks like to some extent.
How come?
That's in the deed.
But to be fair, I mean, I've talked with them a lot. There's some things that we're not compliant with from their standard, but they've given us the grace to figure those out over time.
So the other issues we got going on with them, that's the other thing I'm worried
No.
about.
Yeah, we've really not received any pushback
No.
on anything we've done up there. So, brick color was probably the only thing that they ever asked us. They have a certain brick color they like to use in their facilities and their complex. So, then that's what we matched on all of our facilities, which again, not a big deal. So.
Where are we moving the 250 from?
It's a future capital build account. It has about $1.5 million in it right now. Sharon moves it, so it's appropriated towards what
It's
it is.
basically the capital escrow funds that we build each year with generally based on the performance of the facility, performance of food and beverage to programming to rentals to all the revenue. That's all escrowed basically. The sales tax basically covers most of our operating expenses. So that's the money we've escrowed over the last several years. It's allowed us to build the first phase, and we will be taking $250,000 out of that, but we also anticipate that within a year we should be able to start building something from the plans here. So.
And I'll just say for me personally, I look forward to talking to you guys Wednesday because there's this project, but then there's the project of the building itself, but then there needs to be some stabilization that needs to happen. Yeah. And so I plan on presenting that to you guys on Wednesday when I see you at strategic planning.
So Mayor, I'd make a motion we approve item 12.2 as read.
Motion to approve 12.2 as read. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Drew.
If you guys ever have any questions, you got my email.
We'll get you Wednesday. It's easy on you tonight. All right. 12.3, consideration and act on recommendations from the Planning Commission to approve 2025 update to the city's comprehensive plan in accordance with Article 1309.01C of the zoning ordinance of the city of Bridgeport. Manager or Andrea, whoever's
Andrea.
going to speak on that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
So just a little back history before.
Can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, if you could move to the podium, please.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We have people watching online that won't be able to hear you.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me get my notes situated. All right, so just a little back history for some of you who weren't involved in the comprehensive plan when it was approved. We started this process about 16 months ago, and we're finally at the tail end of approval for the comprehensive plan. So according to state code, the plan has to be approved every 10 years. We have to have a new plan. We're slightly overachievers here, and we did about 8 because it is such a long process. We don't know how long community engagement's going to be. We invite the public to different listening sessions. We had a steering committee, so we take all the recommendations from the committees, the public, the surveys to put them into the comprehensive plan to get it to where it is today. And you all should have received a copy of it, and it's basically what happens now, and I've reviewed this with our legal counsel too. So tonight, you are approving the Planning Commission's recommendation. It was unanimously approved at the September 30th meeting to accept the comprehensive plan as it was presented to you, to council. And then in the next subsequent meetings, this tonight is just the recommendation from planning, and at the December 1st meeting, there will be another public hearing, and our consultants, Benchmark Planning, will be here to answer any questions and give a little presentation on the comprehensive plan. And then it has to have 2 readings by ordinance. So December 1st will be the first reading of the ordinance if approved by council, and then the second reading will be the first meeting in January, and then the plan will become official.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Any actions on the item?
Move to approve item 12.3.
Motion to approve 12.3 is read. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Very good. Okay, 12.4. Consideration and act on change order number 2 to the existing contract with Terracon Consultants of Morgantown, West Virginia for Phase 1 of the Deegan Lake Dam seepage remediation. I'm sorry. Manager?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, we had Terracon in here a few months ago, and he gave a report on 2 of the options that were you know, a potential for the fix. And if you've driven by the lakes, you see that the Deegan Lake is way down again, just like it did last summer and last fall. So what I've done, I talked to our engineering consultant, which was Dan Farrell at Thrasher, and talked to him about this, and he didn't think it made great sense to turn this over to a different, or put it out to a different engineering firm, because they would have to refer to all the work that Terracon's done. I did work with our consultant and with Terracon, and negotiated the prices down some from the original quote that I received. So this is for the Phase 1. This is the drilling and the insertion of a chemical grout that's, I kind of made him laugh because I referred to it as Fix-A-Flat, so it kind of deals the same way, in a much more technical and advanced application method. And as he mentioned, the other option was more what he considered open heart surgery, which would have a big price tag. So what we're asking in this is, you know, under change order 2, I have a budget that I presented with you guys so you could understand what you're voting on. So the engineering bid package development for a total of $50,200. That is the, you know, the development of the bid package, the scope of work, all the plan specification, all the engineering stuff. They will coordinate with the West Virginia DEP on our behalf, their dam safety crew, to make sure we have all the required documentation, comments, revisions, everything from DEP. And then they will administer the bids and make the, help promote it and get the right contractors to bid on it. And then they will make a final recommendation for the construction that will come back to city council. The other item is, normally in some of our construction projects, we have public works people and things like that nature. If it's a paving contract, we have our own inspectors in-house. This being a very technical and very, it's a process that could work and provide some relief to what's happening out there for a long time, until we look at other options down the road. But we don't really have the in-house staff that's available to do that. So I asked for a not to exceed number for construction administration, and this will be an actually billed, in your packet it shows their billed prices for that. So that's a not to exceed $35,000. But, under the motion, the last item you see there, it says, under this contract proposal, we will, that I'm asking you guys to allow us to transfer $335,200 from the one-time B&O to that repair account that's all within the capital reserve funds. And that will provide the budget that I presented for which is the engineer's estimate of the construction costs as well. So it will be the complete project, the design, the bidding, the actual construction costs, and the construction administration would be approving to move that money and to, do the change order with Terracon to do the work.
So you're estimating 250,000 for the construction of
That was a conservative number provided by the engineer.
Because when they were here last time, we talked about it being around 200,000, so you're putting a little fudge factor in there just to make sure we have enough to cover it. I was trying to figure out how we got up over 300,000, so okay, I see that now.
Yeah, and when we did that, we mentioned that didn't include engineering fees, so, you do have to throw those numbers in, so.
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion to approve the change order number 2 as stated.
Motion to approve 12.4 as read. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, manager, for that report. All right, 12.5, discuss and if appropriate act with regards to the opioid litigation. I think everybody was provided with an update on that. Manager, go ahead.
Yep. Unless Dean wants to override me here, I have my correspondence with John Ashcombe, who helped us with that. And basically what he's saying is that the attorney representing us in the class action lawsuit against Express Scripts, he says the attorney threw every legal theory they could, including the kitchen sink, at this. Part of the legal strategy was based on prior case decisions, which now have been overruled. So if the suit continues with all the legal theories originally asserted, it will take more time, work, potentially create additional delays. So what the attorneys would like to do is to proceed on the theory that Express Scripts is liable to the city solely on the theory of public nuisance, and wants the city to agree to dismiss all other theories of liability. According to the letter, the theory of public nuisance was the sole legal theory recovered on all prior opioid litigation. So that is the main nuisance. That public nuisance is where we've received money in other cases, and that seems to be what case law has supported so far. So, so we would need to agree to this request. It has to be discussed and voted on by you all. And, and John mentioned that the city is on a contingency fund, so it doesn't cost us any money. The attorney is only paid if he collects money, and there's a fixed percentage on that. Don't know what that is. It might be in there. So there's really no risk to the city with this motion. And we just need someone to, if we agree, then we need someone to move that we follow the Opioid Council's recommendations with regard to litigation strategy, and instruct and authorize the interim city manager to advise legal counsel of the same. So there's your motion.
Thank you.
Somebody make a motion there.
I move that.
You move that?
What he said.
Second.
Okay, so I'm gonna, for the record, that is a motion and a second to approve 12.5 as read. Is that correct? Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. All right, Bill and Beth, what you've been waiting on.
Patiently.
Item 12.6, consider an act on general fund budget revision number 6 for fiscal year 25-26. Councilman Burton?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to increase the what we have given in the past by $10,000, the line item for budget number 6, to help with transportation, food, operational expenses
For the senior center?
for the Harrison County Senior Center.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second on the floor to increase funding by $10,000 to the Senior Citizen Center by way of a budget revision number 6, fiscal years 25-26. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, this requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, if you take the vote.
Mayor Robert McKinney?
Yes.
Recorder Hank Murray?
Yes.
Councilmember Don Burton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jason Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris Kinney?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton Rice?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Ladon?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, council comments, 13. Councilor Rominger?
I just wanted to congratulate Chief Pig, obviously, on his promotion. I've heard nothing but good things about him from people in this community, other communities, other first responders. So thank him for his service. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kinney?
So I look out, my son's here and reminded of his glory days in high school, winning a couple of state cross country meets at okay, and the girls just won the first ever for the high school cross country, so that was awesome. Girls were pretty good back in those days when my daughter ran and Timmy ran, but it's awesome to see them step up and carry that torch. Boys soccer winning a state championship, definitely furthering the title town, and the boys cross country came in second. Girls made it to the semifinals in soccer, so great showing by all of them. So being a sports fanatic, even soccer, which will give some credibility as a sport, and it's awesome to see them doing that kind of stuff and Bridgeport continue to thrive. There were a couple questions I told the mayor that I'd like to have answered today, just in general terms, just to make it quick. One was about the election schedule, which we already answered, will be addressed Wednesday. A couple other things that he and I have discussed or have come up here. I'm just curious on when we're going to move. One was the Charter Review Board, when we think we might have a discussion about that. The property on Main Street, Virginia Avenue, what we're going to do with that, if the city's going to do something with that, or if we want to sell it like we're proposing to do with the others. When do you think we'll have a discussion on that one?
We sent out a revised agenda for Wednesday night. We will have one item of business. It will most likely be an executive session. It will be a quick executive session, but it will be some options on the potential sale of those two properties.
Okay.
And another topic that we'll be discussing about property as well.
And then the other one was whether or not we may, in the near future, have a discussion to revisit those hotel emergency fees. So I guess I propose, what I'm asking you, when you do your comments, if you could talk about charter review, timing, and whether or not we might discuss hotel emergency fees in a future meeting.
Okay, yeah, as far as I would like to get some feedback from the council, I think we're close on working up some names that I would submit to the body to approval to be the Charter Review Board. And I'm hoping everybody's had a chance, or if they don't, in the very near future, to get the city clerk any names that they would like for consideration on that. I would like to, again, if it pleases the council, maybe wait until after the first of the year before we jump into that, because we've got a lot going on, you know, with the meetings. But I think that's very important, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So if we get all those names right after the first year, then we'll try to get those out to the council to select who's going to be on that board. Then on your second, the hotel emergency fee, we haven't really discussed it here as a council, but I know we've discussed it on the CVB board, and there's a case out of Tucker County, and I don't know, I kind of looked for it the other day to see if I could find the status on it, where Tucker County, one of the ski resorts up there, sued the county commission on an EMS similar emergency fee. And I think on that, maybe we would be ahead just to wait and see, just leave it as is. And then, you know, that would give us a better option to discuss once we see, if anything, what happens in that legal case.
Yeah, and one other update, and Mark could verify this, I know between him and Tim Curry, we've been contacted by, at least 5 other communities wanting to know how we did that. So I think, you know, depending on how we go with it, or if we do anything with it, that it's going to snowball across the state, as similar as what happens in other states when these types of fees are enacted.
But if you want to get it on an agenda, just let me know. We'll put it on there if you want further discussion. And that's just my opinion, that we wait and see if anything happens with this legal matter.
For me, what I think to discuss on it, I don't think needs to wait, because, you know, personally, I'd like to see it go away. I don't think anybody else here wants that extreme of it, but I'd like at least have that discussion.
Sure. How about we just put it on agenda in December for?
Well, it
group
could sort of
discussion?
wait till after the year,
After
after the
first
new year as well, with all the other stuff going on, I think.
Okay. Councilman Rice.
No, I think enough's been said. Long meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Councilman Burton.
From what I'm told, I did not see it, but I heard Bridgeport High School play was excellent, outstanding. So I just wanted to pass that on from someone who attends a lot of plays, that they thought it was outstanding. As well as soccer and cross country, we want to wish the high school volleyball team good luck. Daughter-in-law and son is coaching their 11th trip down to the States, and they play at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Recorder Murray.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody showing up, and thank you for the bread. I really need it. You can tell, can't you? No, but a good meeting. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Councilman Campbell.
Just congratulations, Chief Pig, and that's it.
All right, well, I'll finish up. Of course, congratulations to Chief Pig. He'll do a great job. I also wanted to, I did it in private, but I want to do it in public as well. I want to congratulate Councilman Rice for his personal achievement and his promotion to bank president, and we're proud of you. Thank you. With that,
That's from Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, the Office of Emergency Management Director just sent a text that we've gained an inch in the snow since we've been in here chatting. So be very careful going out there, and be safe.
Leave it up.
Leave it up and bring bad news, right? Okay. Call for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
You may get snowed out.
Is it double elimination?